Dr. Ivo Eggman Robotnik. A man of unmistakable stature and appearance. A man of incredible scientific know-how and engineering mastery, sporting a ridiculously high IQ of 300. You'd think that he'd be using his skills for the benefit of the planet, but instead, he uses them to conduct vile schemes for world domination and the construction of the Eggman Empire. As you do. Luckily for all of you peace lovers and tree huggers out there, the Doctor's plans have always been foiled by the freedom fighter Sonic the Hedgehog. But I think that some of the machines that the evil scientist has built over the years have also contributed to the failure of his schemes. I mean, you see some of his designs and you just can't help but think, what were you smoking when you thought this thing up? And where can I get some of that? Because it sounds like some really good shit.
And so today's countdown is dedicated to showing you the absolute worst that's left Eggman's production line. But a few notes before we dive in. I'm only going to be looking at Sonic games to find these terrible contraptions, so we're not going to look into any TV or film he's been in or whatever. I'm only counting those machines that are piloted by Eggman himself, and only those machines that are extensively modified by him, so you won't find any pics from the first Sonic the Hedgehog game in this countdown. And I'm also not necessarily going to follow the one pick per game rule, because when Eggman has an off day, he really has an off day in my opinion. Most important though, remember this is only my list and my opinions. There'll be plenty of time for you to go down in the comments and leave your suggestions once this countdown is over. And one final thing, I will be using the name Eggman for this video, so for those of you retro purists out there who like to call him Robotnik, or I don't know if Eggman's like your bloody trigger word or something, here's the thing. I don't give a damn. So let's take a look at what I think to be the top 10 worst Eggman piloted machines. Let's do it.
I feel like I copped out something massive when I decided to pick this machine, which is why it's only entered at number 10, but the concept of it is still really stupid, as I shall now explain. After a rugged trek through the Quartz Quadrant, Eggman captures Sonic in a never-ending treadmill built to match the blue hedgehog's running speed, whilst dropping mines from a crane system up above. It seems like a foolproof plan. You'd think that eventually Sonic would give in to fatigue and meet his doom at the spikes behind him, and this might have been the case were it not for one huge flaw. Well, you shouldn't have set your pod down on the treadmill to be disintegrated by its ridiculous speed then, you great dope. Now, all Sonic needs to do is survive the treadmill whilst he watches the Doctor's pod wear away and eventually hand him his humble pie. Cue the fail siren. Now, you would half expect something that is featured in the famously terrible Sonic 06 to be in this countdown too, but there's hardly anything you fight in this that actually fits the prerequisites to be in this list. Think about it, many of the bosses you fight aren't actually machines at all, and those that aren't piloted by Mr. Mustachio himself, save for one. The Egg Wyvern. The main reason this made it onto the list is because of his charging attack, in which he literally yells at you to tell you he's coming. I mean, how much more telegraphable can you make yourself? His tactics are just all over the place in this fight. I mean, what a great idea to coax the hedgehog into attacking you directly after your canopy head gets ripped off by him. And what a great idea to try and fight around your collapsing airship. And how do you make it so that one tiny little hedgehog can control the entire contraption by just grabbing the horn at the front? Yeah, tactically and from a design standpoint, this thing is certainly not the Doctor's best work ever. Cue the fail siren! Size usually means power. Being big will often give you an advantage in certain situations. Eggman is aware of this fact and has followed this philosophy on many occasions before, with some good results in the past. This, however, is not one of those occasions. Meet the Egg Albatross. It's a towering, blimp-like contraption featuring an armada of cannons. It is really a shame that this machine is really prone to breaking apart in rather massive chunks. And from a bunch of measly homing attacks, no less. And can someone tell me where these cannons are supposed to be aiming exactly? Yeah, another design idea not completely thought through here. And then all it takes is to chase down the fleeing Doctor in arguably the bit with the most firepower, and then destroy that to completely ruin his day. And before you tell me this machine isn't technically piloted by Eggman himself, but rather by an imposter, I know that, but nobody knew that at the time, so it still counts! Here I present to you one of the many sources of memorable Dr. Eggman quotes.
You know what they say, the more the merrier.
And by memorable, I mean annoying as fuck. The Egg Breaker is like your typical giant mech walker thing, sporting a rather massive mace hand and a different secondary attack depending on where in the story you encounter it. If it's in the Mad Matrix zone, it fires computer bombs at you. If it's in the Cryptic Castle zone, it will fire the mace at you from a distance. And if it's in the Iron Jungle, it will use eye lasers atop a central platform. But to spare you the trouble of finding out what these attacks are like, I'm just gonna say right now that they're all really bad like. And just have a look at how incredibly easy it is to just mow down the breaker with any sort of gun you can lay your hand on. Blink and you will miss it. It doesn't really matter which version of the Egg Breaker you fight, I just think they're all just lame-o shlame-o. It's like I'm back in the 90s all of a sudden. I mean, where the fuck did that come from? Whee! Oh, look at all the colors flashing by and listen to that kick-ass music, I'm having so much fun! Oh. Well, look who came to spoil the party. This one evil guy in a new machine, made up of rotating spiked disc, with no obvious route to his exposed cockpit. So, how exactly am I meant to reach up to that? Oh, okay then, well there's your immediate problem with this invention straight away. So the Doctor lets his spiked discs fly out at a very slow pace, so Sonic can easily land on top of them like an ordinary platform, and then follow the makeshift path up to Eggman to then deal him a world of hurt. Need I say more about this? And oh, okay, sure, those discs might be hiding secret turrets within them, but unfortunately, they're not gonna get you any more brownie points this time around. And besides, they sound delicious. I want them. I'm gonna get ya! No, but seriously, Eggman, pitter-pattering your robotic hands all over the ground like that is really going to kill that pesky hedgehog? So he comes along in his Eggmobile with the flimsiest looking arms attached to either side, and all he does in this battle is hover all around the arena, and then occasionally comes down to, I assume, just give Sonic a pat on the head like he's a good little doggy-woggy. What about this machine is supposed to be sinister and frightening, can I ask? It doesn't really help that Sonic is easily able to outrun the thing, and the size of the target on Eggman's cockpit that Sonic can hit is about the size of the freaking moon. I honestly think that out of everything in the absolutely dizzying labyrinth of Spring Stadium Zone, this machine is probably the easiest thing to deal with. I know that the first time I saw that this was one of the great Doctor's genius plans to stop Sonic, you know, just going up, I'ma get ya, I'ma get ya. I was immediately all like, dude, no. Heat is a worthy asset to use against your foes, and where better to utilize this than in Lava Reef. Here, Eggman has built himself a heat-proof capsule that begins wrecking havoc by firing rockets at that pesky little hedgehog, forcing him to retreat down a raging lava fall. And then the Doctor emerges from the molten rock in his tough-skinned machine, so much so that normal hits on it won't do jack. And then raising the lava before him like some sort of evil Moses, Eggman forces the rock platforms to flow towards him, where they are crushed instantly. And he also fires deadly spiked mines into Sonic's path. And into his own path. You see what the problem is here? And funnily enough, these mines are actually the only thing potent enough to damage Eggman's machine. Jeez guys, isn't this a coinkydink? Also, I bet you anything that the Doctor didn't really take Sonic's flame shield ability into account either. You know, the one that makes him immune to the lava. I'll just throw that out there. Okay, before we go on to number 3, I just need a moment here. Nostalgia got something. Oh my god, it's gotten everywhere. I am so sorry about this, ladies and gentlemen. So the first ever game that I played is where I first got to experience the wonderment and awesomeness that is Chemical Plant Zone. And it's also where I got to experience the banal stupidity of the Watermobile. I know, completely original name, right? And the Doctor's utterly genius attack plan here is to slowly drain the toxic water into a container to then just drop onto Sonic. Watch him as he slowly fills up his container with the toxic water. So slowly, in fact, that all 8 hits needed to turn the machine into scrap metal can be done before he's even finished filling up the bucket. And just wait until you hear the rumour that when the creators of Sonic 2 were designing this fight, they were going to make Eggman occasionally drop the toxic liquid onto himself as if by an accident. But the real accident here is the bang to Eggman's head that made him suddenly think that this was a good idea. Cue the fail siren! So with this fucking thing didn't prove to be your undoing in the Carnival Night Zone, then maybe Eggman's latest contraption would have been able to see you off. Arguably, I think this machine had so much potential to be a good hedgehog exterminator. He always conveniently flies at an altitude just beyond Sonic's maximum jump height. He expertly uses the power of magnetism to pull the blue blur into his electric weaponry, and that massive ball of his that makes this all work packs a mean punch just because of its sheer weight. This could have been a good machine. It really could have been good. But incredibly, the Egghead has managed to be a complete fucking goof yet again. Even though his magnetic powers work on the hedgehog, they apparently don't work on the clearly metallic ball device thing. So by dropping it on the ground every time, he then has to float down to retrieve it, leaving his dumb, stupid face open to attack. You can't help but think how it was even possible that an idea as good as this one was screwed up so monumentally. But he's managed it here. And I weep for him.
And the good doctor's poor run of form isn't limited to just 10 awful machines either. There are a couple that managed to escape the shame of being named in the top 10, but I think that this next machine isn't exactly his best idea either. So here is the one that almost made it.
Hear me out on this one, alright? Yes, you may think that this particular machine, the Egg-HVC-001 might be hard to take down because of those bumper arms at the front that are able to track your movements pretty well. But think about it, that would only happen if you were trying to hit Eggman directly from the front. Now take a look at the way he flies in. It's from the top down, and if you look closely, there's actually a very tiny space left here that Sonic can potentially sneak into and then attack the machine from behind. And there is literally nothing on the back of that machine protecting the cockpit. Then all it takes is just 3 simple hits, and that's it. Now if he had walked the machine in from the right, it would be a completely different story. Alas, that misguided tactic and the lack of adequate protection on his back mean that this is unfortunately not one of Eggman's brightest ideas in my opinion.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to present to you the pinnacle of pointlessness, the creme de la creme of shittiness, the worst piloted machine that Eggman has ever invented. Let's get this over with.
This is another one of those cases where when I first saw this one particular machine, it was bound to be at the #1 spot on this list and nothing was ever going to take its place. I present to you, ladies and gentlemen, the Egg Dealer. I really feel like I shouldn't have to say anything to those people who have already fought this particular contraption. Heck, I'm sure some of you might even be in agreement here. But for those of you that haven't seen this thing in action, here is just a small taste of how god-awful the Egg Dealer is. Firstly, its looks. That bulbous body with that ridiculous face on those spindly legs is hardly an intimidating design for a death machine, now is it? Secondly, its choice of attacks. They are all really lame, and each one can be reprogrammed to backfire on the Egghead when the 3 reels at the front of the body are stopped. And who programs in a move that can power up the guy you're trying to kill? Who does that? Thirdly, it's always running away from you like some sort of chicken on heat while it prepares the next move to try and use against you. Like, you're not going to even attempt to do something to halt my progress towards you whilst you're picking out your next move? Really? Have some Gatling guns on the side that I need to avoid to get to you. Lay a bomb every once in a while. Oh wait, you actually have that in your attacks, which I can then have backfiring you by hitting those clearly exposed buttons. What were you thinking here, man? It really is no wonder that this is your fate after the fight is over. Seriously? That was a fucking pathetic machine. You know, because Shadow says fucking, because he swears in this game. It's Shadow the Hedgehog. It's a 12+ game, this.
Goodbye, Doctor.
So, yeah, the Egg Dealer. This machine is bad, and you should feel bad. And that's why it's my #1 worst Eggman piloted machine.
And that's all she wrote for today. Leave your feedback and suggestions in the comments below. Let's have some neat little discussions going down there. What do you think is the worst machine Eggman's ever built? And until next time, all I can say now is stay you and stay awesome, and I will see you all later on. Cue the fail siren!
And a big supermassive hello to you all. Thanks again for watching. Be sure to give a like and a favourite if you enjoyed the video, and if you really liked it and you want more, go see a couple of my other recent videos by clicking the links here, and also consider subscribing to The Richaado Show so you can be among the first to see new content as and when it's ready. Thanks again, and I will see you guys later on.